Biztech's CEO Conversation Show. Today, we're going to explore the rise of unified banking platforms across Southeast Asia and speak to an innovative company out of the Philippines. Now, with me is my co-presenter, Arsalan Oz Ahmad, who in a previous life started one of Malaysia's first digital banks, Rise. Now, our guest today is Kalidas Ghose. He's the chairman of Uno Asia Private Limited and Uno Digital Bank. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brian. Greetings to everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here for both Brian and Oz, and look forward to a conversation for the next few minutes.
Now, Kalidas, for a start, could you give us an overview of Uno Digital Bank and also your history?
Well, to start with myself, I've been a consumer banker throughout my life. Started with Citigroup in India in early 90s, been with consumer banking, been with a few entrepreneurial innovative ventures within Citigroup as well, starting with shared services, moving on to mortgage distribution, and then finally building a large-scale consumer finance business in India itself. Then I moved to the Southeast Asian market, starting with Philippines by building another consumer finance business on behalf of Citigroup first. Moved to Vietnam sometime in the early 2000s, 2006 or so, and built again a consumer finance business as a first-time consumer finance venture for Prudential Group. Joined ANZ Bank and then moved on to a local group called Vietnam Prosperity Bank in Vietnam. And for the last 12 years or so, before I moved on to Uno Bank, we had been able to build the largest consumer finance business in all of ASEAN with about 15 million odd customers and nearly 30,000 in-house and off-role employees working for us. So once there was a kind of logical phase that came to an end when Sumitomo Mitsui acquired about 49% stake in our company in FE Credit, which is the consumer finance business that I built. I moved on to building Uno Bank with a former colleague of mine, and we started this digital banking operation in the Philippines.
Now, this is and prior to the show, this is, you mentioned that this is your 7th startup operation. Now, give us a sense of where you saw the opportunity and then your product and services offerings to take advantage of the gaps.
Yep, and like Oz was saying that, my first 3 or 4 startups were from the safety of a bank. So I was, I had the group strength of the bank behind me, namely Citigroup first and then ANZ Bank and then Prudential as well. It was in Vietnam, the first time that I worked for a local banking group, that I had to take up the task of not only building the venture, but also building the support systems around it because they had not existed in this company before. So it was, each and every one of my startups were more complex than the previous one. And that I guess how one gets inspired to take on the next challenge. So it has been a gradual journey for me, starting with smaller experiments behind the safety of a bank with a group strength behind me. But at the end of the day, my last venture was pretty much on my own and a semi-entrepreneurial venture. And then I moved on to Uno, where me and my co-founders started with a piece of paper. In fact, Uno, just for your information, has the distinction of being the first fintech in the world that got incorporated as a bank. So we did not exist before we got the license. We got the license, we went to the Securities Commission and then incorporated our bank literally from scratch. So when last year the central bank visited us and they said, look, we want to inspect how you are doing, we were kind of hoping that we would be given the leeway of being a baby. And we were told very clearly that that's not going to happen and we are going to measure you against the same standards that we do for the other banks, some of whom are probably 100 years old, maybe at least 50 years old. Well, it was a challenge, but that was the whole fun of it, of building a bank from scratch. And for folks, both me and my co-founder, people who have spent 30 years plus in banking, to go and do it all over again from scratch is something like you really feel the satisfaction and probably get the confidence that probably all your learnings have not gone in vain. So, you now building something for posterity and something as your permanent legacy. So that's what has kept us going. So we got the license in 2021, and then we incorporated in towards the end, I think October 2021, after we had capitalized and did all the administrative work. And then we launched our business in about 9 months' time with a closed user group and went to public in November in less than a year's time. Today, Uno Bank has approximately 1.7 million customers in about 15 months of operation. We have roughly 130 odd people in our bank and a 60 to 70 member tech team which gives us support from overseas, from remotely. So it's a bank with less than 200 people, but with aspirations to reach 2 million customers by the end of this quarter itself. I mean, something which somebody had told us to create maybe even 3 years back, we would have laughed off. I mean, we would have simply said, people are saying things which they don't know what they're talking about, but it's a reality today. And we've got about $120 odd million of deposit book. We're getting about 50,000 new loan applications a month. At this point of time, our policies are a bit conservative, so we approve around 8 to 10,000 of them, around 20%. But we hope that it will reach about 35-40%, which is the industry standard by the time we end this year. So, so far so good. There were sleepless nights when we thought that finally we are on our own and we got to start a bank, and that's not an easy task to do. But where we stand today, we can have a reasonable sigh of relief. I won't say that. I mean, we haven't scaled even probably 10%, 15 or 20% of the journey. There's a lot of work left. There's a lot of summit to scale, but it's been very exciting so far.
Well, Kalidas, I just wanted to, firstly, congratulate you on all of the successes. But when you have 6 digital bank licenses and, in the Philippines, and look, it seems that you're competing extremely well. What's the secret sauce that you have that beats the competition?
So, in a way, what has probably really motivated us, goaded us to be very competitive, aggressive, innovative in the market, is that we built our bank from the scratch, and we're not supported by any strong, there's no strong parental support, so to say, because we're not part of a large business group. It's very typical of the Philippines, as you would know. So if you look at our competitors, we have 3 large banks whose digital banking units have really got the license. So we don't see a dramatic difference in their operations from the parent bank in terms of having a mobile channel or a digitalized operation, so to say. Our approach has been very different compared to our competitors, most of whom are established companies, except for one, which is almost a startup like us. But even they started with the rural bank as a foundation. So we are the only one who's absolutely from a piece of paper as a license. Now, when we look at our philosophy of how to establish what we genuinely call more than a business but a customer franchise, we see the opportunity in the middle 60% of Philippines. They are not being served by the banks primarily because of economic reasons. So their average ticket size, their relationship size, their potential for revenue from these customers on an annual basis is probably not good enough, adequate enough for the banks to serve them through their slightly more expensive distribution network, through branches, and through their proprietary channels. So we see that a digital platform like ours, not just with a low customer base, but with the convenience and ease of operation that can really motivate these people to adopt a bank account on our platform, and then essentially use it for easing their daily life, for making it more convenient, make it more flexible and more rewarding to have that relationship and embed it in their daily life itself. And that's where unified banking comes in, which I'm sure we're going to talk about a little bit more. So our focus is on the customer segment, make sure that we are embedded in their daily life, and make sure that we are making a difference to their life as opposed to simply selling products in a digitalized way. So that's the key difference that we see in the operations of our competitors versus ourselves.
And I think that the ability to be free to kind of develop agility and innovation, and your very specific culture plays a very important role. And you talked about the concept of unified banking. It'd be wonderful if you could just give us a bit of a flavor as to what that means in how you scale your offering for reach, and also how that dictates your kind of product roadmap and your execution and partnership strategies. It'd be great to get an insight on that.
So, I mean, of course, that's a topic I can, speak for the next couple of hours probably, but I'll try to keep it down to maybe a couple of minutes. So, at the heart of our business model is obviously our technology. And being a recent entrant into the banking fold, we were able to build a technology platform, a banking platform in a very modular way. So, customer interaction, journey layer, then integration, the core banking layers, the data layer, and the infosec, and then the ERP layers for the bank, the GLs and all that kind of stuff. They're all built very modular. So they're all on the cloud. So the integration part of it becomes easier. We didn't build the investment and the insurance. And we just plugged in two platforms. Insurance is in the process of being done, and investment is scheduled sometime during the end of the year. That will give us the capability to build products around retail financial services, from transaction, savings, borrowings, investment, and insurance or protection. So all the 5 baskets are covered. So essentially, it's a IT or a technology platform for banking that can cater to all the financial services products, including third-party products, which we discussed. On top of that, we have actually built partnerships. That is where unified banking came, to create customer journeys around themes. So if it is retail or e-commerce or transportation, mobility, utility payments, healthcare, education. So all of those journeys are configured for customers to start and complete them on our platform. And then on top of that, we are building propositions for the salaried segment and the merchant segment, which are 2 key segments to create a marketplace. And we also are working on niche propositions. We think we will probably focus on them early next year for OFWs, which is a big segment. So of the 30 million people, 30 million salaried segments in Philippines, around 20 million are locally salaried folks, not more than 1 million of whom are served very well by the banks. Many of them have bank accounts, but they basically credit their salary and put it out the next day. So that 20 million is a big opportunity, but so is the 10 million of OFWs. And also, of course, the women as a segment which cuts across all the other segments. So it's like a niche within salaried and merchant. So
can I ask you this? And I want to interrupt you just a little bit, because this is quite a different thing from a lot of, and I think I've interviewed 7 or 8 digital bank CEOs. And so one of the key things with the Philippines, which is very unusual, as you just pointed out, is the overseas foreign worker and the remittance economy around that. So literally, this is a segment that's not even in your country of regulation. You're basically getting money outside, and many of them are actually earning very substantial amounts either in Singapore, in Hong Kong, in the Middle East. Is the value proposition and the strategies around going after them very different from your traditional business that is in the Philippines?
It is, and I think we are looking at more the destination of those flows and not the origination. The origination part, we are working with partners to be part of the rails through which those remittances are coming in. But our focus is also more on the family members, on the recipients of those remittances that are coming in, and building banking propositions for them to include them into the fold of formal finance, and then probably ease their life for them to prosper in future as well. So yes, we have a focus. It is a little different from those who are focused purely on remittances. We are working with those partners to make a proposition which is more attractive to these OFWs for benefits to not only to them but to their family members as well.
So again, I want to have a follow-on around that. So when you do an eKYC, for example, and say that the recipient literally has no real income, does your technology stack then have then the linkage to the remittance amount that comes in, and do you count that then, for example, in terms of your credit scoring?
Yes, we do. However, there are some challenges around securing those cash flows because they are not physically located within the geographical boundaries of Philippines. So you have to make sure that you have your contractual relationship with the customers cover for security of the credit that you might extend. But it is not just about credit, because as we were discussing with us, when we are looking at the relationship with our customers, it is that wholesome, five basket kind of relationship. And when the family members start building history with us, they'll build their own credit history with us as well. So even independently of their family member who's overseas, they can have access to credit and other facilities from us in it.
So can I paraphrase? So what's happening here is that you've built a technology. I want to come on to that. I want to get a question about that in a minute. You've built a technology and capability to be able to build seamlessly propositions to segments within the 60% that you're looking at, and that's by leveraging different verticals of products and services from wealth, insurance, credit, so on and so forth.
Yes.
And you're able to work with your core offering and third-party offerings to target that proposition. So effectively what you've done is you've created a technology stack that allows real customer centricity, and you're showing that through the propositions that can be both generic but then targeted as well to particular groups. Is that a way of...
I'll give you an example of that. So when we are now opening accounts where customers credit their salary, they are automatically going to get a bundled product free of cost. The first tier being sponsored by us, where they're going to get even up to 6 times their monthly salary as a health coverage, TPD and health coverage. And this is completely free. Now, it looks like that if we convert that into a family floater, this might actually be of tremendous, it might be 4x in benefit. So we are then offering to our customers an ability to upgrade this to a 12 times or an annual salary average, and with a family floater, meaning anybody in the family can use for just as low as, I guess, $2 or $3 a month. And it just gets deducted from their salary. And even if they want to pay it upfront, we can pay it upfront and do a 12-month payment scheme for them or a 6-month payment scheme for them. Wow. So now we cover them for basic amount as a salaried employee for ensuring the safety of their family. But we also offer them an upgrade facility, which is not available outside our platform at all. So that's, I guess, a good example of customizing for our segment, offering it through our platform, and integrating with partners in order to structure those products, which are more useful to our customers than what other banks are offering on a generic basis. So there are banks which when you open an account, they will do cross-sell of standard insurance products in the market. But we are structuring them as a group for our customers. We are creating benefits which are relevant to them, and then we are bringing the price down to make it affordable for them. So that's where we are probably trying to make a difference for our customers.
No, that's really fascinating. I'd like to talk just to take a little bit of an adjunct question here. Your technology stack, did you go about building that yourself? Is it 100% proprietary? Is it like 50% proprietary and using kind of other vendors and so on and so forth? Because as you mentioned, you said it's a modular approach. So what I've seen in the market is from the extreme of, we're completely going to build it ourselves, to the other extreme of we're completely going to use somebody else's out of a box. And then in the middle, what you have is part our IP, whether it's just the orchestration layer or it's part our IP and the core banking system. So it'd be great just to get a very high level idea of how much in that tech you've built yourself versus what you use from third parties.
I would say we have actually stitched together products. The 2 layers which we are building ourselves, one is the front end with the customer, which is the app because of its user experience and certain proprietary things which we want to own. And the customer journey layer, which I presume what you called orchestration. So we see there are 3 parts to that orchestration. There's the business process engine, there's the rule engine, and of course there's the orchestration layer for making sure there is control and visibility into that process. Those 2 are our proprietary layers. Those 2 we are again using market tools like workflow engines and a rule engine from Germany called Actico and similar tools, but we have configured them for ourselves. And we have complete control on that. Core banking systems, integration layers, we have obviously picked up from the market because there's no point to reinventing the wheel and building GL systems or something which are now available at a fairly economical rate on a cloud pay-per-use basis. So we have taken them up. We use our data layer, we use a Postgre database and we use Tableau for our visualization. and we use SAS for our modeling. So again, we use products, but we have built models on frameworks on top of them, which are our IP.
Okay, thank you for that. Just staying on a thing that you mentioned earlier around safety and security. It'd be great to kind of understand what you have in place to make sure, as people try to bank increasingly with you and you're a digital platform, that there's those layers of safety and security, whether that's biometric validation or other methods, in order to protect people from cybercrime. And that is something that any geography will see that's going down this road, but particularly in the ASEAN region, we see that. It'd be great to get an understanding of how how UNO is addressing that.
So I must say that that's a continuous journey. So we keep evaluating ourselves, keep taking a project every year. And it's not been, there's been 2 years of existence. So just to evaluate where we stand with respect to global standards. Now, there are two parts to that. One is the process, like you said, about, having biometric authentication, about having records and having a much stronger KYC than probably what is acceptable in the market or acceptable regulatorily. We go 2, 3, 4 steps beyond that. So there is a process angle to that security to make sure that transactions are secure. We have the whole transaction monitoring tools and stuff. And then the other is the InfoSec tools, like your data loss protection tools and your process monitoring tools, both tools to identify if there is a breach, and also tools to report and prevent further damage in terms of shutting down systems and things like that. So there are two parts. One is pure technical driven, leveraging tools that are available, and the other one is process. And what we do is we benchmark ourselves with some global consultants around security. They're not at liberty to share their names, but essentially we deploy them to give us a gold standard that today digital banks and even Main Street banks are following across the world. And we score ourselves and try to make sure that we are at the cutting edge in terms of InfoSec. I mean, just having a mobile bank, a mobile app as your only distribution channel, and having like possibly 2.5 to even 3 million customers by 2 years, by the end of this year, and ultimately looking at maybe 7 or 8 million active customers. That is an area of utmost importance for us.
Yeah.
That can really cause severe damage if we don't take care of it.
Well, thank you. The Philippines has a large unbanked and underbanked population, and obviously financial inclusion, whether in the Philippines and actually globally, but particularly in the region, in the Philippines, has been a major reason for why there's been a proliferation of digital banks. But one of the key issues is kind of the KYC side and also the credit side to be able to get people something into their hands to pursue what they want to do. I want to get your views, Kalidas, on the importance of establishing a comprehensive credit bureau and the steps needed to achieve that, and also what your approach as an organization is to data and alternative data, including AI, to support financial inclusion. It'd be great to get your insights on that.
Yeah, I mean, the penetration of credit, especially in the retail sector, when we look at a country like Vietnam, for example, when I started in 2007, lending to individuals, we would have like 2 hits in the credit bureau per 100 apps. Today we get 80, 85 hits. And that has been possible because of the mandate to share the entire data with credit bureau by all institutions and making that data available as seamlessly and as efficiently as they can, directly under the supervision of the central bank. Philippines, on the other hand, I guess the reason for under-penetration of credit in Philippines is on 4 or 5 counts. One is, of course, a lack of unique national ID, which is being addressed. I think a lot of IDs, 60, 70 million IDs have been issued. They haven't reached the individual hands yet. That's why we are not able to use, but I guess that will change over time. So that's an important factor, and it should change a lot of the credit access situation when it's done in Philippines. Second, of course, credit bureau. Nobody can emphasize, I think, in Philippines, the institution receiving the data was not geared to supply the data back with respect to queries. Some private credit bureaus came into being, but they were being subscribed by the banks, whereas the main growth was happening in finance companies, which are not sharing the data with the credit bureau. So there's a challenge and a gap, which again looks like there are some attempts to kind of organize the credit bureau, the credit information center data and make it available. So that's number two. SIM card linkage to your ID is also very important. And because of the lack of national ID, that's been a challenge in Philippines. So you can take a SIM card, you can take a credit, and then you can throw away the SIM card, and there will be no trace of as to who has been using it. Now they're linking the credit card, the SIM card to an ID. But again, in the absence of a unique ID, that becomes a little bit fluid because there may be multiple IDs available for the same customer on the system. Fourth, I guess, is open banking / open finance. I think unless, data like income tax, data of your pension, and also your records with other institutions are not opened up, I guess people who are really, building their history in a disciplined way are not going to be able to derive the advantage. This is a work in progress in almost every market.
Yeah.
I believe India has made some progress, and some ex-colleagues that I speak to are talking about accessing some salary data for lending, etc., but not in Vietnam, not in Philippines. So that's an area. And lastly, I guess for making access to credit, some lender protection has to be into play. Because like in India, for example, if you give even an electronic mandate and you bounce the check, you are liable to be put behind bars. So, and then I know institutions which have used it effectively. So there has to be some degree of lender protection for lenders to also take that incremental risk and bring more people into the fold of finance. So I think those are 3-4 areas where Philippines can do. If I have time, maybe I can just add a few lines of what Uno is doing. We have actually, within the limited platform and other market advantages, we have created a rather conservative policy. We have created enormous capability on our mobile app. Today, you can upload 15 forms of document, especially to demonstrate your income. And we have an OCR process which can glean the data in seconds and feed it into a rule engine to take a call. So we are like that way able to take decisions in less than 10 minutes time. So we are working within the limitations and serving our customers, generating the demand. There is demand, significant demand in the market. And we hope that the situation changes for us to serve our customer better as we go.
Kalidas, can I ask you, so you talked about lender protection. What's your NPL rate like, and what is the industry standard right now from the traditional banks as well as now these new digital banks?
So our NPLs are hovering around 3.5%, 4%, in some months maybe 4.5%. I believe that the NPL rates for the industry for unsecured lending will be similar, if not slightly higher. Ours is, of course, a new portfolio, so the rates are not stabilized yet. And as the portfolio grows, you would have slightly lower than normal rates. So this is not normalized for growth. We do believe that there is opportunity to bring it down over time as we gain experience with the segment, our scores become more robust, and as some of the market imperfections we talked about are kind of addressed by the government.
Now, Kalidas, I want to now zoom in on your company as a business. You've raised $75 million so far. Your most recent raise is a $32 million pre-Series B round by Gateway Partners. Tell us about your funding plan and how you're going to deploy the capital.
So we are now investing in building our customer franchise, acquiring customers primarily, and maybe a bit into our technology platform as it keeps getting more and more upgraded. We believe that our break-even or kind of profitability on a monthly basis, if you will, or a cash flow positive scenario is expected probably over the next 6 to 9 months, maybe at most round about 3 quarters plus or minus a month here and there. So that's what we are driving towards. That will put us in probably somewhere at the top of the league table for digital banks in terms of time taken to become profitable, and also the size at which it became profitable compared to some of even the Western market banks, where the unit economics is probably slightly better than the emerging markets. So that's what we are driving towards, and we hope that with the new funding, we will be inching closer to that goal for ourselves.
Kalidas, it's been a great conversation. We could probably keep chatting for another half an hour and still have a lot more to say, but we've run out of time. But before we leave, any final thoughts you'd like to leave the audience with?
I think, it's been an inspiring experience for us to have started this bank and addressing a large segment of people who are in need of the services that we are able to offer. The market acceptance has been phenomenal. We are happy to not only share our experience, but also invite collaboration and cooperation with partners who can add value to our business model and ultimately add value to our customers. We are open for any form of innovation and any form of partnership that people may approach us with. So we hope to create an example of a financial services institution focused on the customer and using innovation as a leading tool, as a leverage for reaching its business goals.
Kalidas, thank you very much for taking your time to be on the show. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure for me too, Brian. Nice talking to you.
We've been speaking to Kalidas Ghose. He's the chairman of Uno Asia Private Limited and Uno Digital Bank. I'm Brian Fernandez, and together with my co-host Arslan Oz Ahmad, this has been Biztech's CEO Conversation Show. This interview will be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.